Today we are witnessing the collapse of the old world order, the very order that for decades was considered the foundation of international relations. Once it seemed that the rules created after World War II could maintain the balance of power, stop wars, and guarantee the development of humanity. But today, these rules are losing their force. Before our eyes, the world is returning to the law of the jungle, where power belongs to those who are strongest. The symbol of this turning point became Donald Trump's speech at the UN General Assembly. From the very first words, the former president of the United States made it clear he sees himself as someone capable of ending wars where others are powerless. In his speech, Trump claimed that his personal relationship with Vladimir Putin could have prevented the war in Ukraine. He said he would have resolved it in just one day. This reflects his typical style, reducing the most complex processes to personal leadership, believing that private deals can replace international mechanisms. Yet behind this simplification lies a deeper trend. Trump shows the world that the old institutions no longer work. According to him, the UN merely sends serious letters and never once called him to mediate. In Trump's view, international organizations cannot stop wars. Only the strength and determination of leaders matter. Ukraine took center stage in his address. Trump claimed that the war would never have started if he had been president. He accused Europe of continuing to buy oil and gas from Russia while criticizing Moscow. He called China and India the main sponsors of Russia's war because they have not stopped their imports. And as for NATO, Trump reminded everyone of his role. He boasted that his pressure forced allies to increase defense spending. This theme of "only I can" runs throughout his entire speech. In essence, he set himself against international institutions, declaring that he personally had stopped 7 wars, not the UN, nor the world community. This reflects not only personal ambition. Trump's speech is a mirror of the crisis of the world order created in 1945. Back then, the global system rested on 4 pillars. Economic liberalism was supposed to ensure growth and development. Democracy was proclaimed a universal model of society. Faith in universal values, human rights, freedoms, the right of peoples to self-determination was meant to be its moral foundation. And finally, international organizations, above all the UN, were supposed to reinforce the rules and prevent wars. For decades this order worked, but gradually it began to crack. The first crack appeared in 2001 when the terrorist attacks in the US showed that even a superpower is vulnerable. The second came in 2008. The financial crisis shattered faith in globalization as a source of equal benefits. It turned out globalization did not benefit everyone, and America even lost from outsourcing and the rise of competitors. The third moment came in 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea. This undermined belief in the inviolability of borders. And finally, in 2022, Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine destroyed the last illusions. International organizations proved incapable of preventing war, and treaties lost their force. Now everyone plays only for themselves. In this crisis, great powers turn to the past. Each has its own golden age to which it aspires. For the US, it is the 1990s, when America won the Cold War and dictated the rules to the entire world, its unipolar moment of unquestioned dominance. For Russia, the golden age is either the Soviet Union at its peak or even the Tsarist Empire, when the country was a great power. Their rhetoric carries the desire for revenge for losing the Cold War. For China, the golden age is the time before the century of humiliation, when Western powers dictated the terms. Today, Beijing reclaims what was lost: Hong Kong, Macau, next Taiwan. Thus emerges the phenomenon of revanchism, the drive to restore the past. But each power's past is different, and therein lies the danger. Different golden ages inevitably clash. Globalization is being replaced by a new paradigm: sovereigntism. Every state seeks maximum self-sufficiency. Russia justifies control over Ukraine as defending its sovereignty. Turkey is turning itself into an energy and logistics hub to become indispensable. China focuses on self-reliance and expanding influence. Sovereigntism means rejecting universal rules in favor of national interests. It is not about cooperation, but survival and domination. And it is this logic that pushes aside the ideals once seen as unshakable. Along with sovereigntism comes the dangerous logic of the 19th century: great power politics. Back then, states took as much as they could hold by force. Today, we see the same. Russia redraws borders in Europe. China expands its influence in Asia. The US tries to reassert control while criticizing international institutions. The Middle East is even more explosive. Its borders were drawn after World War I. If revanchism becomes the dominant ideology, the region may once again turn into a battlefield for territorial redivision. But this is not just about the Middle East. In Europe, the largest war since 1945 is already underway. In Asia, competition between China and India is growing. Conflict exists at all levels: global, interregional, regional. And nowhere are stable rules in sight. For Ukraine, this situation is especially dramatic. It lacks the resources to ensure its own security. There are three possible paths. The first is neutrality. But the experience of the last 30 years has shown it is impossible to maintain. The second is alliance with a great power, such as the US or the European Union. But this makes the country dependent on political changes in those states. Today, support may exist. Tomorrow, it may vanish. The third path is building small alliances, uniting with other regional countries to survive the era of chaos together. This option requires resources and initiative, but it offers more independence and room for maneuver. In the long run, this may be the most optimal path. The world has entered an era of revanchism and sovereigntism. The old order based on rules and institutions has proved incapable of restraining the ambitions of great powers. Now power itself is the decisive argument. For small states, this means one thing: only those who find a way to be strong will survive. International treaties and lofty declarations no longer guarantee security. Once again, the law of the jungle rules. And that, perhaps, is the main lesson